Hey, SharynZoo Crew! We wanted to say hello from BirdTricks. This is a YouTube channel takeover, and we are so excited to share some awesome information with all of you viewers.
For those of you that have no idea who we are, I'm Dave Womack.
And I'm Jamie Womack.
And we are from BirdTricks.
And this is Jinxie.
We have a background in entertainment as well as training parrots. So over at our channel, YouTube/BirdTricks, we not only teach you how to train your pet parrot, but really we strive for our goal, and that's saving parrots one person at a time. So we really focus on education through entertaining methods.
In this video, we're gonna walk you through the 5 lies that people tell about pet parrots and demyth them.
Demyth them.
Is that a word?
I don't know, but it sounds like you have a theory lift.
Demyth.
Demyth. Or you demyth them.
It's a word now.
Please keep all these in.
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. People are definitely gonna come over to our channel.
Yeah, we talk about being entertaining.
Watch the blonde try to talk.
Hey Jinxie, what's wrong with your face?
Nothing, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Shush. The first lie people tell you about toys is usually right straight from the pet shop, that toys for your bird should look a lot like the toys for your toddler.
Not the case. You know, and unfortunately most of the major pet shops sell toys that look kind of like this. And the problem is that they're just not organic, they're not healthy, and the bird should not ingest these.
What you want to use is toys made of natural materials, such as, gasp, wood. Who would have thought that birds chew on wood? Now, you can incorporate color. Color, I'm gonna admit, is mostly just for the human to say, this is pretty, I wanna give it to my bird. However, you can definitely incorporate colored toys like you see at this one. This is one of the toys we offer in our many toy boxes. This is dyed using vegetable dyes. So those of you who have ever cut into a beet and realized your hands are now purpley pink, that's what we use to dye our toys. So those go a long way. You can use all sorts of veggie dyes to get those bright, vibrant colors that can entice a bird or the human eye. But also we have a lot of natural looking toys that come in all different shapes and sizes and are all different types of...
He's going for it.
Hardness. So some are very soft woods, other ones are very hard woods, depending on what kind of beak you are trying to keep busy.
So when I was growing up, my parents had a blue and gold macaw named Tico, and this particular bird had a couple of acrylic toys in his cage his whole life. And my parents were always like, oh, that's his favorite toy, we can't get rid of that, he's had that forever. So the problem with these like heavy-duty, non-destructible toys is you think that you're buying them just once, which is great, except the birds need to destroy. The whole purpose of toys is so they have something to keep them busy during the day. It's not that they have something to like look at that's pretty.
Toys are definitely not for decoration, they are for destruction. So the faster your bird goes through the toys, the better. So now we have our 3 sister sun conures, Phoebe, Lily, and Dietka, to go over a very important lie that you will be told, mostly at pet shops, but kind of all over, even online. And this is the lie that snuggle huts are necessary for small birds such as conures, budgies, cockatiels, lovebirds, parrotlets, and the like. Now, snuggle huts are little tents made of fabric that will hang in your bird's cage that they are encouraged to go and sleep in for warmth or whatever people say that they're good for. The reason these are totally bad is a safety issue. A lot of birds will actually chew on these. They become very nesty and hormonal, which means they will tear up the pieces and actually ingest them.
Also, it triggers breeding season for these birds. I mean, if you're giving the bird a nest, they're gonna go in there and want to breed. And you know, and the problem is every time I see these in somebody's in-home consult, I'll go in, I'll say, hey guys, yeah, you probably shouldn't have the snuggle hut. The number one thing I always hear is, oh, but she loves it. Yeah, oh. Off to a perch. But that's the problem, is that they do love it because they're trying to mate and breed. Even if they are by themselves, it triggers hormones.
If you still don't believe us on the snuggle hut front, just do a quick Google search or even look on Facebook. You will find on a lot of veterinary pages surgeries happening to little birds like these guys, fully open and going into surgery where they're taking out all of that fabric that they have ingested. It's something that they cannot pass through their digestive tract, and it's a major, major problem. So please don't use these. There are alternatives if you feel like, well, then what do I offer my bird? They do make quote-unquote snuggle huts that are made out of wood or different types of varieties like that. Again, it kind of goes back to the hormonal aspect of it. The birds really don't need these things, but especially please stay away from the most dangerous parrot toy accessory that there is, and that is the fabric snuggle hut. Come on, babies. So this is Cressy, our Congo African Gray, and the third lie that we want to dispel, since demyth apparently isn't a word, is that of using cage covers. Now, a lot of people use cage covers, and usually it's because their bird's cage is in the middle of the action of the house, and they think that by covering it, they're allowing the bird to go to sleep while the TV's still on and the action movie is still playing. So kind of like we were saying about the snuggle huts, is that it triggers hormones. Speaking of which, so does Dave for Cressy.
Whoa, wasn't sure where we were going for a sec.
The problem with cage covers, again, is a safety issue, where if the bird can reach the cage cover, then they can chew on it and ingest it. Another thing that birds really like to do with cage covers is maybe not ingest it, but tear it into tiny little pieces and put it at the bottom of the cage to form nesting material. So cage covers can lead to a lot of different problems, which is why we usually recommend
sleeper cage. I wasn't done with the cage cover bit. I was going to add to that.
Okay.
So cage covers also trigger kind of that the bird is in a nesting area. And so since what we always recommend to people is that the bird needs 12 hours of sleep, people are like, oh, I'll just go get a cage cover because I live in an apartment and I want to be able to spend time with my bird and put her right by the TV while I watch the entire season of 24. That bird's not getting quality uninterrupted sleep. So that's why we recommend a sleeper cage. If you live in a very small area, we recommend putting one of those in your bathroom. So you can put the bird in there, feed her dinner, and then an hour later the light shuts off, and that's a great way for your bird to be able to still get that 12 hours of sleep without having to put her away with a cage cover.
And the biggest thing that we see is that people are misusing the cage covers. So if your bird is being incredibly noisy that day and you might have neighbors over or friends over, a lot of people tend to just cover up the bird to get it to shut up or be quiet. So I find that people that do have cage covers will usually use them in a way that is not intended for them. And also just that they're not getting adequate sleep with a cage cover. So that's why we tend to find alternative methods for this. But oh, you're being so good. Rock out. Whew, got me right in the nose. So this is Bondi, our rose-breasted cockatoo, also known as a galah from Australia. And again, we still have Cressy, our Congo African Grey. Now this topic we want to talk about is a lie that you get straight from usually where you get the bird from. Normally the diet that your bird comes to you on is not the ideal diet. Oftentimes it's way easier to wean these guys onto seeds than it is to fresh vegetables, grains, legumes, etc., sprouts. All the really good healthy stuff. That takes a lot longer, and usually people that are selling birds want to get them out the door a little bit quicker, so sometimes they don't put the full effort into a proper diet.
Now we learned this about 10 years ago when we were on tour for 2 years, and we were giving Bondi too much fruit. And we thought, okay, fruits and vegetables, they kind of go together, right? Sounds healthy because that's what we've been taught to eat as people. And so we realized this when we were free flying, she didn't want to interact, and she just went and sat in a tree, which was very unlike her. So we seeked out the best vets in the nation and came up with our own seasonal feeding systems.
So it's kind of cool because Cressy is on the cover. Now, it may be shocking, but the best diet that you can give your bird actually changes with the seasons like it would in the wild for them. Just as they aren't able to get certain foods year-round because certain seasons change, and wow, I'm having a really hard time talking through this, we tried to mimic that in our seasonal feeding system. So we give you 3 different recipes to go with the seasons that you can change with your bird and really change it up. We also, you're probably wondering, that's kind of a thick book for just 3 recipes. We include a lot more that can add diversity to the diet and make it a lot more fun. So that is kind of how our seasonal feeding system got developed and how we keep it varied for your bird to get everything it needs nutritionally speaking throughout the entire year.
One of the challenges that we ran into is people always say, but oh, I like to give my bird what I'm eating. So we also have an additional part of that that's basically sharing the table with your bird. So there's bird-safe recipes that look like what you're eating, but it's something that's healthy for the bird. So you can still, if you enjoy that quality time with your bird, you can still get that by making its own meals. If you're interested in learning more about the seasonal feeding system or our cookbook series, you can purchase the physical product and we'll mail it to you right away, or you can download the digital product instantly over at birdtricksstore.com.
The main thing we want to get across with diet is that an all-seed diet is incredibly fatty and unhealthy. Although a lot of wild birds eat seed, these are fresh sprouted seeds. These are grass seeds. These are things that they're spending all day consuming and eating and flying to get. So you can't really mimic that type of activity or exercise in captivity as they're getting in the wild to actually earn those types of treats. Speaking of foraging,
she's searching all over the table.
All the books.
She's our Australian pigeon, folks.
I especially want to draw pause for the cockatoo owners, the Amazon owners, and the eclectus owners. You guys have birds that are very, very sensitive to foods, and it's even more important for these guys to be on the best diet possible. So please do your research. Please feed the best foods. Don't go on an all-seed diet. Seeds can be necessary in the diet, but it should be in moderation and for very specific type of things versus just a freebie or a free-for-all where they have access to it no matter what.
I want to also caution you, if you go on to any website, you just search in parrot food, it's going to say like doctor recommended, or, veterinary approved, and if it has a bunch of seeds in it, it's just junk, regardless of how. Yeah, and there's so many bad representations by companies that are doing the immoral things and just selling this as a premium parrot product, and it's every single time. I just got back from a week in Australia and the guy's like, oh, well, I had this and it said that it was parrot food on it and it was highly recommended and it's what the breeder gave, and it was crap. So you really need to watch for what you're doing and don't necessarily believe what the packaging says, because there's a lot of misleading information on the packaging because companies are quite honestly just being immoral and pushing something that's cheap and easy to get your bird onto, but it's not healthy.
So make sure you read the ingredients, and if all else fails, please make your bird's food at home. All right, guys, we are ready for our fifth and final lie that you are told when you first get a bird, and that is that the cage is bad. You will see this a lot. It's very trendy on social media to pet shame everybody for keeping a bird in a cage. Now, we are not saying your bird should spend all day, every single day in the cage, or that being cage bound is something that is great. However, the cage should be an enriching area that your bird enjoys spending time in. Kind of like when I want to go hang out in my room to get away from everybody else.
Because the psychology behind what we're talking about is it's critical that you need to be able to have time out of the cage with your bird, of course. That's why we got them, that's because we love them, we love spending time with them. But as you hear Jamie say all the time on her channel, it's about the quality, not the quantity. So when you have the bird out of the cage, you should be doing enriching behaviors where you're mentally stimulating the bird, you're challenging the bird to learn new behaviors through possibly training, or here's a big tip actually. If the bird is out of the cage so long that it starts to misbehave, you've gone too long. So the time out of the cage with you should be quality. It should be kind of under your control in terms of being able to just engage with the bird. If the bird loses interest, it probably means you've had him out too long. So when you're finished training or playing with your bird or interacting with him in your home, or if you free fly or whatever it is, and it's time to put the bird back in the cage, don't view it as punishment. You know, a funny story I always share is that my parents used to be, they get all upset with me and, David, go to your room. I'm like, okay. I loved my room. I had all sorts of enriching things in there. I'm a professional magician, so I had a lot of magic tricks I would practice, and there was no punishment for me going in the cage. Now, my parents viewed it as punishment, just like you might view it as punishment for sending your birds back to their cage. So when I went to my room or my cage, I had a great time. And so that's what your bird should also be looking forward to. They should look forward to going back to their environment because they have lots of toys that we talked about. They have all sorts of foraging activities and just different ways to self-entertain.
I actually love the idea or the concept of calling a cage a room. It is really like your bird's room. They should learn to self-entertain in there because there's nothing worse than having to put your bird in the cage and having it be so unhappy there that it's pacing back and forth waiting for when it can get out, or it's screaming, and then a lot of people I know would then cover the bird. So just having those be avoided to where your bird is independent enough to enjoy its time in its room and playing with its toys and foraging and doing all the things that it wants to do, maybe even just preening or taking a bath. I often walk into our bird's room and find them taking a bath in the water dish or preening or just being happy. And so it's a great place for your bird to know that it's safe and relaxing and enriching. It shouldn't be a place that you use as any form of punishment. You just decided you wanted to sit on the cookbooks? Older? Sorry. Sorry.
Well, on that note, thanks for watching. Again, we're Dave and Jamie from BirdTricks. If you want to learn more about kind of what we do, and maybe if you found these tips valuable, head over to our channel, YouTube/BirdTricks, or over to our Instagram @BirdTricksOfficial, where we are constantly engaging with everybody and teaching you how to save your parrot one person at a time.
And a big thank you goes out to Sharon for featuring us on her channel, doing this collaboration. We enjoy so much collabing with other YouTubers around, sharing information and just bettering the lives of birds everywhere. So thank you so much for allowing us on your channel, Sharon. We really appreciate it. Oh, Capri. I just noticed that you came in.
I'm getting pet like a bird.
I don't know if we ever introduced Comet and Tusa, but
This is
Comet
Tusa.
and Tusa. This is Comet.
It is Tusa.
They are Camelot macaws.
And this is Capri.
This is Dave. Hey, SharynZoo Crew. Rocco wanted to at least say hi. He has been busy in his aviary destroying toys like this. I know, bud, but this is what you did to it. It used to look like, well, he kind of is awesome at destroying all of our woven toys. But it used to look like this. This is one of our toys. That was before. This is after. Totally gutted. Good job, Rocco. The SharynZoo Crew just really wanted to see you, bud. They heard how much you like cameras.